First Contact Protocol. The Serenity's observation deck offered the best view of the Andromeda Arm, but Captain Zara Vex of the Collective's Explorer fleet found no peace in the swirling stars today. Her primary sensor array had detected something impossible, an artificial structure where none should exist, far beyond the boundaries of known space. Analysis complete, Captain. Her science officer Telnar's voice carried a hint of disbelief. The object is approximately 3 kilometers in length. Material composition unknown. Energy signatures, unlike anything in our database. Zaravex's chromatophores rippled with shades of deep blue, a sign of intense concentration among her species. Show me. The holographic display materialized, revealing a vessel that defied conventional design philosophy. Unlike the organic curves favored by the Collective, this ship was all sharp angles and geometric precision. Most striking were the massive arrays of what could only be weapon systems, integrated so seamlessly into the hull that they seemed almost decorative. "It's beautiful," Telnar whispered, his research tendrils coiling in excitement. "But who would build a warship of this scale out here? The nearest civilized system is 50 light-years away." "The better question," Zaravex responded, "is why they're powering up their targeting systems." The bridge fell silent as multiple warning indicators flared to life. The unknown vessel had gone from passive to combat-ready in less than 3 seconds, a transition that should have taken minutes. Zaravex's diplomatic training kicked in as she ordered, "Open all frequencies, First Contact Protocol Alpha." Before her communications officer could comply, every display on the bridge shifted to an unknown script. Geometric patterns flowed across their screens, resolving themselves into perfectly translated collective standard. Unidentified vessel. This is the Terran Republic ship HYPERON. UAVENTREDAR zone. Maintain position and PREPAR for Estian. Terran. Telnar's voice quavered. "I've never heard of." The scan hit them like a tidal wave. Their supposedly impenetrable shields might as well have been non-existent, as the foreign vessel's sensors penetrated every deck, every system. In seconds, the unknown ship had compiled a complete analysis of their vessel. Explorer Vessel Ingenuity, QOLECT designation, Peace Fuel, Intent, CO Navarramid. Stand by, for CO Intake. Zaravex watched in amazement as a figure materialized on her bridge, a hologram of such perfect resolution that she initially thought they had somehow transported aboard. The being was Beichtel, clad in a uniform of deep blue and silver, with features that suggested both strength and intelligence. "Captain Zaravex," the figure spoke in flawless collective standard. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Republic. I apologize for the aggressive scan, but we've learned to be cautious out here on the frontier." Zaravex's diplomatic training warred with her scientific curiosity. "You're human. Your species isn't in any of our databases." A slight smile crossed the Admiral's face. "That's by design, Captain. We've been watching the galaxy for quite some time, waiting for the right moment to make our presence known. Your ship's peaceful mission profile accelerated our timeline. But a vessel of this size, this capability," Telnar interjected, unable to contain himself. "The energy requirements alone would be impossible by your current understanding of physics." Admiral Chen finished. "We've had a long time to develop in isolation, Dr. Telnar. Humanity has walked a different path than the Collective." Zaravex noticed how the Admiral knew her science officer's name without introduction. The scan had been even more thorough than she'd realized. "Why reveal yourselves now?" The hologram's expression grew serious. "Because you're about to discover something that threatens both our peoples, Captain. Something that's been hiding in the dark between the stars. We've been fighting it alone for the past decade, but the time has come for allies." The Admiral's image gestured, and a new hologram appeared. A star map unlike anything Zaravex had ever seen, showing vast regions of space the collective had never explored. Red markers pulsed in a distinct pattern, spreading like a virus across the galaxy. "What we're about to show you will change everything you think you know about the universe," Admiral Chen continued. "The question is, Captain Zara Vex of the Collective Explorer Fleet, are you ready to learn why humanity built warships instead of explorers?" Zara Vex looked at her bridge crew, seeing her own mix of fear and fascination reflected in their expressions. She turned back to the Admiral's hologram, her chromatophores shifting to the deep green of decision. "Show us," she said. Admiral Chen nodded, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as humanity prepared to share its terrible knowledge with its first alien allies. The legacy of Earth. The Hyperion's briefing room defied everything Zara Vex thought she knew about military vessels. Instead of stark utility, she found herself in a space that merged function and aesthetics with unprecedented sophistication. The holographic display system alone was worth more than her entire ship, yet the humans treated it as commonplace. Admiral Chen stood before a three-dimensional projection of Earth, humanity's homeworld. The planet's surface bore scars that made Zara Vex's chromatophores pulse with concern, massive impact craters, and evidence of energy weapon strikes that must have happened centuries ago. 200 years ago, Chen began, Earth was attacked by what we initially thought were natural phenomena. Massive objects emerging from subspace, striking our cities without warning. We lost 8 million people in the first day. The hologram shifted, showing grainy footage of enormous crystalline structures descending from the sky. They moved with terrible purpose, targeting population centers with precision. "We called them the Harbingers," Chen continued. "They weren't interested in communication or conquest. They were harvesting something, human consciousness itself. We later learned that they feed on sentient thought patterns, treating civilizations like crops to be harvested." Tel-Nar, who had been invited to the briefing, coiled his research tendrils in distress. "But such entities should be detectable. The energy requirements alone should be impossible." Chen smiled grimly. "That's what we thought. But the Harbingers operate on principles that break what we considered fundamental laws of physics. They exist partially in subspace, making them nearly impossible to detect until they strike." The display changed again, showing humanity's desperate battle for survival. Crude nuclear weapons gave way to more sophisticated defenses. With each attack, human technology evolved at an impossible rate. "We did what humanity does best," Chen said. "We adapted. Every Harbinger attack taught us more about their technology. Every defeat made us stronger. Within 50 years, we had reverse-engineered enough of their capabilities to drive them from Earth's solar system." Zara Vex watched as the timeline advanced, showing humanity's rapid expansion into space. "You built your civilization on warfare," she observed, trying to keep judgment from her voice. "We built it on survival," Chen corrected. "Every ship, every colony, every technological advance was designed with one purpose: to ensure that what happened to Earth would never happen again. But about 10 years ago, we discovered something worse." The hologram shifted to show a massive star map. Red markers pulsed across it, forming a pattern that made Zara Vex's scientific mind race. The Harbingers weren't random hunters, she realized. They're part of something larger. A harvest cycle, Chen confirmed. Every 1,000 years, they sweep through the galaxy, culling developed civilizations. The collective hasn't encountered them yet because you're in what they consider a developing zone. But that's about to change. New data scrolled across the display: statistical analyses, probability matrices, and observation records that stretched back centuries. The humans had been gathering this intelligence since before they revealed themselves to the stars. In approximately 6 months, Chen continued, the Harbingers will begin their next harvest. Our models show the collective's worlds will be among their first targets. Your people have achieved the consciousness threshold that makes you viable prey. Tel-Nar's tendrils had gone completely still, a sign of deep shock in his species. How do you know all this? Chen's expression hardened. Because we found their relay network. The Harbingers communicate across vast distances using quantum-entangled crystals. We learned to tap into their network, to listen to their plans. That's how we know we're out of time. Out of time? Zara Vex asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. The Admiral nodded toward the window, where the Hyperion's massive hull stretched into the darkness. This ship, and others like it, weren't built to fight other civilizations, Captain. They were built to face the Harbingers. We've spent 2 centuries preparing for a war that most species don't even know is coming. The hologram showed a final image. Thousands of human warships emerging from hidden shipyards throughout unexplored space. Each vessel was a testament to humanity's determination to survive, to protect not just themselves, but all sentient life. We're not asking for the collective's permission to fight, Chen said quietly. We're asking for your help. Humanity can't win this war alone, and we refuse to watch another civilization fall to the harvest. Zara Vex looked at the battle scars on Earth's surface, then at the determination in the human admiral's eyes. Her species had evolved to explore, to learn, to understand. But perhaps it was time to learn how to fight. What do you need from us? She asked. Admiral Chen's response was immediate. Everything. Your technology, your resources, your people. In return, we'll give you everything we have. Weapons, shields, drives that can outrun light itself. The Harbingers are coming, Captain. The only question is whether we face them together or die separately. The weight of history seemed to press down on the briefing room as Zara Vex made her decision, one that would alter the course of not just the collective, but all sentient life in the galaxy. Alliance of necessity. The collective's High Council chamber had never seen anything like this. Hundreds of delegates from across known space crowded the ancient hall, their voices a cacophony of different languages as they argued about humanity's revelation. At the center of the chamber, a holographic projection showed the Harbingers' harvest patterns, each red pulse marking another civilization lost to the ancient threat. Zara Vex stood beside Admiral Chen, watching the chaos unfold. The Admiral's holographic presence was indistinguishable from reality, a small demonstration of human technological superiority that hadn't gone unnoticed by the assembled delegates. Your people adapt quickly, Chen observed as another simulation played out, showing the devastation of a previous harvest cycle. Most species need days to process this kind of information. We evolved to understand, Zara Vex replied, her chromatophores shifting through patterns of deep thought. The real question is whether we can evolve to fight. The Council's chief administrator, a massive being of crystalline intelligence named Nexus Prime, raised his resonance chamber for silence. The chamber gradually quieted as he addressed the assembly. The evidence presented by the humans is irrefutable, his harmonic voice echoed. The Harbinger threat is real, and it approaches. The question before us is not whether to believe, but how to survive. A delegation of quantum architects, beings of pure energy contained in specialized suits, moved forward. The humans ask us to transform our entire civilization into a war machine. Their spokesperson pulsed. They would have us abandon millennia of peaceful development. We ask you to survive, Chen countered, her hologram walking into the center of the chamber. With a gesture, she brought up new displays. Tactical simulations showing the integration of human and collective technologies. Your civilization has achieved things we never dreamed of, she continued. Your quantum architecture, your biological computing, your psychic resonance networks, all of these are technologies humanity never developed because we were too focused on survival. But combined with our defensive systems, our weapons technology, our tactical experience, the simulations played out, showing how the merger of human and collective technology created something greater than either civilization had achieved alone. Collective ships, enhanced with human weapon systems and defensive screens, performing maneuvers that should have been impossible. Human warships, augmented with collective quantum systems, striking from dimensions the Harbingers wouldn't expect. "We don't ask you to become like us," Chen said softly. "We ask you to be yourselves, but armed with the tools to survive. The Harbingers expect to find isolated civilizations, easy prey. Instead, let them find an alliance they never imagined possible." Telnar, who had been analyzing the simulations, stepped forward. "The integration protocols would take months to implement across our fleet," he stated, his research tendrils weaving complex patterns. "The Harbingers will arrive before we're ready. That's why we brought help." Chen smiled, and the chamber's massive doors opened. Zara Vex felt her chromatophores pulse with shock as humans began entering the chamber, not holograms, but real humans, each accompanied by technical teams from their various specialized divisions. They carried cases of equipment, data cores, and technology that the collective had never seen. "These are our best engineers, scientists, and tactical advisors," Chen explained. "They've spent years preparing for this moment, learning your languages, studying your technology. They're ready to begin the integration process immediately." A ripple of surprise ran through the chamber. The humans had been preparing for this alliance long before first contact, positioning themselves to help at a moment's notice. Nexus Prime's crystalline form sparkled with decision patterns. "You knew we would agree to this alliance." "We hoped," Chen corrected. "Humanity learned the hard way that facing the Harbingers alone means death. We believe that when presented with the evidence, you would choose survival, not just for yourselves, but for every civilization that might rise after you." The chamber erupted in discussion again, but this time the tone was different. Fear was giving way to determination, chaos to purpose. Zara Vex watched as collective scientists began gathering around the human technical teams, their natural curiosity overcoming their initial hesitation. "There will be resistance," she warned Chen. "Not everyone will accept this change easily." "There was resistance on Earth too," Chen replied. "But the Harbingers taught us that the only thing worse than change is extinction. Your people understand that now. The real work begins." As if to emphasize her point, alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. A new hologram appeared, showing a massive subspace distortion at the edge of collective space. The pattern matched perfectly with historical records of Harbinger scout vessels. "They're early," Chen's voice carried an edge of steel. "The harvest is beginning ahead of schedule." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Their time for preparation had just been cut short. Nexus Prime turned to address Admiral Chen, his crystalline form resonating with formal authority. "The collective accepts your alliance, Admiral. Now teach us how to fight." Trial by fire. The Hyperion's Combat Information Center hummed with tension as Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. The Harbinger scout fleet had emerged from subspace near the collective's outer colony of New Haven, exactly where the quantum intelligence predicted they would appear. Multiple crystalline structures detected, the sensor officer reported. Configuration matches historical records. They're preparing to begin consciousness scanning of the colony. Zara Vex, now serving as the collective's military liaison, felt her chromatophores darken with determination. The colony below held over 3 million of her people, all of them potential harvest targets for the Harbingers. "Status of the defense grid?" Chen asked, her voice steady despite the stakes. "Collective quantum shields are integrated with our kinetic barriers," Telnar reported from his new station. The science officer had adapted to military operations with surprising speed. "The colonists are as protected as we can make them." The tactical display showed their combined fleet, 30 human warships and 50 collective vessels, all modified with hybrid technology. They had managed to integrate their systems in just 3 weeks, working around the clock since the first detection of the Harbinger scouts. "They still don't know we're here," Chen observed, watching the crystalline ships move into harvest formation. "The quantum masking is working." The collective's stealth technology, combined with human sensor bafflers, had rendered their fleet invisible to Harbinger detection systems. It was their first real advantage. the element of surprise. All ships, combat formation Delta, Chen ordered. Remember your training. These aren't the same harbingers that attacked Earth. They've never faced a unified defense before. The fleet moved with practiced precision, taking positions that maximized the strengths of both species. Collective ships, with their superior maneuverability, formed the outer ring. Human warships, bristling with weapons, created a solid core. Harbinger vessels initiating harvest protocols, Telnar announced, his tendrils writhing with anxiety. Energy buildup detected in their primary crystals. Not today, Chen said quietly. Then, louder. All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt. The space around New Haven erupted in coordinated chaos. Human ships dropped their masking fields first, their modified weapon systems targeting the Harbinger's subspace anchor points, a vulnerability discovered through centuries of study. Simultaneously, collective vessels phased into quantum space, appearing inside the Harbinger's formation. The enemy response was immediate and violent. The crystalline ships reoriented, their surfaces fracturing to reveal energy weapons that had decimated countless civilizations. But they were firing at targets that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, thanks to the collective's quantum technology. First volley, impact in 3, 2, 1. The human fleet's main guns fired in perfect synchronization. But these weren't the conventional weapons the Harbingers had faced before. Each shot was wrapped in a quantum envelope, designed by collective scientists to bypass the crystalline ship's natural defenses. 3 Harbinger vessels shattered instantly, their fragments spinning into space. The others began to adapt, their crystalline structures reorganizing to compensate for the new threat. They're attempting to establish a group consciousness, Telnar reported, trying to accelerate their adaptation process. Execute Phase 2, Chen ordered. Zara Vex activated her own console, initiating the program she had helped design. Collective quantum processors flooded the local space with conscious energy, creating a false echo of billions of minds. The Harbinger fleet froze for a crucial moment, their harvest protocols overwhelmed by the phantom signals. All ships, full assault. Chen's voice carried the weight of 2 centuries of preparation. Don't let them recover. The battle transformed into a dance of light and shadow. Collective ships phased in and out of normal space, their quantum weapons disrupting the Harbinger's crystalline structure. Human vessels struck from multiple vectors, their modified weapons turning the enemy's own subspace technology against them. But the Harbingers were ancient and powerful. 2 collective ships vanished in bursts of quantum fire. A human cruiser, its shields overwhelmed, suffered a direct hit that nearly broke it in half. They're adapting to the quantum interference, Telnar warned, restructuring their consciousness networks. Chen nodded grimly. Time for the killing stroke. Initiate the Prometheus protocol. Zara Vex watched as the human fleet executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Every ship synchronized its quantum drive with the collective vessels, creating a cascading resonance field. The very fabric of space began to warp. Containment field stable, Telnar reported. Ready for quantum collapse. The Harbinger fleet, trapped in the resonance field, began to signal in patterns never before recorded. Were they trying to communicate? To surrender? After all these centuries, were they finally facing something they couldn't simply harvest and consume? Too late for that, Chen said, as if reading Zaravex's thoughts. Execute collapse. The quantum field imploded, taking the Harbinger fleet with it. Where moments before there had been a dozen crystalline ships, now there was nothing but scattered debris, glittering in New Haven's sun. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Telnar spoke, his voice filled with awe. No civilization has ever defeated a Harbinger fleet before. Not in all our recorded history. This was just a scouting force, Chen reminded them. The main harvest fleet will be here soon. But now we know our combined technology works. We can hurt them. We can stop them. Zaravex's chromatophores shifted to colors of victory and concern. They'll adapt to these tactics, change their approach. So will we, Chen smiled. That's what our species do best. We adapt, we evolve, we survive. And now we do it together. As the fleet regrouped around New Haven, preparing for the greater battle to come, Zaravex realized that this victory represented more than just survival. It was proof that two vastly different species could overcome their differences and create something greater than themselves. The real war was just beginning, but for the first time in history, the Harbingers would face a galaxy that fought back. A new dawn. 3 months after the Battle of New Haven, the great shipyards above Earth buzzed with unprecedented activity. Collective quantum engineers worked alongside human shipwrights, integrating their technologies into vessels that would have been impossible just months ago. The skeletal frames of new warships stretched for kilometers, each one representing the combined knowledge of both civilizations. Admiral Chen stood in her office aboard Earth's primary defense station, watching the construction through a quantum-enhanced viewport. The display showed multiple layers of reality simultaneously: normal space, quantum space, and the subspace domains where the Harbingers traveled. The main harvest fleet has changed course, Zaravex reported, her chromatophores showing patterns of grim satisfaction. They're gathering their forces instead of spreading out. They know something's different this time. They're learning to fear, Chen replied, turning to face the massive tactical display dominating her office. Red markers showed the approaching Harbinger fleet, nearly 1,000 crystalline ships, the largest gathering of their kind ever recorded. That's new for them. Telnar entered the office, his research tendrils coiling with excitement. The latest integration tests exceeded all projections. The quantum-enhanced targeting systems are achieving lock times 300% faster than our original estimates. The tactical display updated, showing the positions of the combined human collective defense fleet. Over 200 ships now carried the marks of both civilizations. Human weapons married to collective quantum systems, creating vessels that could fight in dimensions the Harbingers had thought safe. The other species are responding to our call, Zaravex added, bringing up diplomatic feeds. The Arcturian Confederation has pledged 30 ships. The Silicon Collective is sending their entire defense fleet. Even the nomad clans are coming in from the Galactic Rim. Chen nodded, studying the reports. After the victory at New Haven, proof of the Harbinger threat and the effectiveness of the human collective alliance had spread rapidly. Species that had never communicated before were now sharing resources, technology, and ships. "How are the evacuation plans proceeding?" she asked. "Ahead of schedule," Telnar reported. "We've relocated 70% of the vulnerable populations to quantum-shielded shelters. The remaining colonies are being moved to secure systems. No easy targets this time." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Harbingers had evolved to prey on civilizations that fought alone, that tried to protect everything at once. They had never faced species that worked together, that shared their strengths and covered each other's weaknesses. New contact. The sensor officer's voice came through the quantum comm. Massive subspace rupture at the edge of the Arcturus sector. The tactical display shifted, showing a tear in space larger than anything they had ever detected. The Harbinger harvest fleet was arriving early, again. "They're learning," Chen observed, "trying to catch us unprepared." But this time, the combined fleet was ready. Ships began moving into position, their crews, human and alien alike, operating with practiced precision. The lessons of New Haven had been learned well. "All stations, battle positions," Chen ordered, her voice carrying across the quantum network to every ship in the Alliance. "This is what we've prepared for. This is where we make our stand." The display showed the Harbinger fleet emerging from subspace, a wall of crystalline vessels that stretched across light years, their surfaces fractured and reformed, weapons deploying as they registered the presence of the Allied fleet. "They're transmitting," Telnar reported with surprise. "First time in recorded history." A signal washed across all frequencies, the Harbingers attempting to communicate in their own crystalline language. The quantum computers translated. Anomalide, DETCTED. Harvest, protocol, invialide. New classification required. They don't understand what they're seeing. Zaravex realized, her chromatophores shifting with revelation. Independent species working together. It doesn't fit their experience. Let's give them something else new to think about, Chen replied. All ships, execute battle plan unity. The Allied fleet moved as one organism, human ships providing covering fire, while collective vessels slipped through quantum space to strike from impossible angles. Other alien ships added their own unique abilities to the mix. Arcturian energy webs, Silicon collective viral codes, Nomad clan phase torpedoes. The space between the fleets erupted in warfare unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Harbingers found their ancient tactics countered at every turn, their advantages nullified by technologies they had never encountered working in concert. They're trying to adapt, Telnar reported, monitoring the quantum feeds, attempting to modify their crystalline structure to counter our weapons. Too many variables, Chen said with satisfaction. They evolved to fight one type of civilization at a time. Hit them with everything. Don't let them focus. The battle raged across multiple dimensions, both fleets taking heavy losses. But slowly, inevitably, the Allied forces began to push the Harbingers back. Ships that had harvested civilizations for millennia found themselves outmaneuvered, overwhelmed by the combined might of their former prey. Protocol failure. The Harbinger transmission continued. Harvest CYCLE corrupted. Initiating YTHDRADL. Not this time. Chen said quietly. All ships, activate the quantum lock. Don't let them escape into subspace. The Allied fleet executed their final gambit, a massive quantum field that trapped the Harbinger vessels in normal space. For the first time in their ancient history, the hunters found themselves unable to retreat. What followed wasn't just a battle. It was the end of an era. The combined fleet systematically destroyed the trapped Harbinger ships, their coordinated attacks leaving no chance for escape or adaptation. When the quantum dust settled, the greatest harvest fleet ever assembled had been reduced to glittering debris. In her office aboard the defense station, Admiral Chen turned to her allies. This victory belongs to all of us, not to humans, not to the collective, but to every species that chose to stand together. Zaravex's chromatophores displayed patterns of deep significance. We've changed the fundamental equation of galactic civilization. No species need face threats alone anymore. The real work begins now, Telnar added, his research tendrils weaving patterns of possibility. Imagine what we can achieve together, now that we've learned to combine our strengths. Chen nodded, looking out at the shipyards where vessels of a dozen species were already gathering. The alliance formed to fight the Harbingers had become something more. The foundation of a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than competition. The Harbingers forced humanity to evolve beyond our limits, she said. Now they've done the same for the galaxy itself. Whatever comes next, we face it together. As if in response to her words, the quantum sensors detected new signals from deep space, patterns that suggested other Harbinger fleets were beginning to move. But this time, they weren't moving to attack. They were retreating, fleeing from a galaxy that had finally learned to fight back.